දැන් සිරස ආයතනය නැති කරන්න බලන්නේ. ඒත් ඒක නැති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ පහන නිවන්න බැරි වුණා. ඒ පහන ආරක්ෂා කරන්න රටේ අපි සියලු දෙනාම කැප වෙන්න ඕනේ.
8 years ago on a day like today, the studio complex of Sirasa TV Department was bombed by a group of assailants. Before 48 hours lapsed, senior journalist Lasantha Wickramatunge was also assassinated.
We begin tonight's news on a somber note and a reminder that the perpetrators of both the attacks on the studio complex and Lasantha's murder are still at large despite the lapse of 8 years. Here's a look at the headlines for tonight.
Volkswagen has not made an investment in Sri Lanka, a statement from the Prime Minister. President delivers information on GSP Plus concessions.
GSP සහනය ලබන සතියේ විපරමිට අපිට ස්ථිරව ලැබෙන මේ වන විට දැනගන්න.
Vehicle importers claim that the country will lose revenue as a result of the car assembly plant in Kuliapitia. Demonstrations against the agreement regarding the Hambantota port. Work on resurfacing the BIA runway commences. Flights restricted to 8 hours a day for 3 months. Import tax on rice reduced from 80 rupees to 15 rupees.
President Maithripala Sirisena says he has received information that Sri Lanka will receive the GSP Plus trade concession next week.
The President graced the ceremony to open the newly built bridge in Haluluwa Dudambala in Kandy today. The bridge, which was built as a solution for the traffic in the Kandy town, is 105 meters long. The Mahanayaka of the Askari chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Valakagoda Sri Yanadawatana Thero, ministers and MPs were among the gathering.
At present, many speak of the Hambantota port and the industrial zones. A consensual agreement on this matter is yet to be prepared. I'm sad to point out that certain ministers and MPs misinterpreted the situation. They spoke of 15,000 acres of land. Lands will be given according to the laws and regulations of the Constitution of Sri Lanka. The land rights of this country will not be given to any country in the world. The government has no policy to evict people from their villages. It is true that we can face an economic crisis, but it is not something that came about during these 2 years. We owe foreign nations 9 trillion rupees. On one side, they say that the government will be toppled this year. I must clearly say that we do not see any system to topple the government. This government cannot be toppled. After the 2020 elections, a new government can be elected. Under this constitution, there is no provision to topple this government. You can only form a new government if you get a hold of Speaker Karujaya Surya and President Maithripala Sirisena. But that will never happen.
The agreement to lease out the Hambantota port has come under discussion and criticism across various fora. Was the agreement signed or was the signing postponed?
අපි මේ මූලික ගිවිසුම අසං කරලා ඉවරයි අතටම. දැන් 7 වෙනිදා කරන්නේ මේක මේක මේ ලොන්ච් කරන එක කරන්නේ 7 වෙනිදා වැඩසටහන. අවසාන වර්ෂ මාසෙක තුමාතුවා මේ 7 වෙනිදා මේ ගිවිසුම අසං කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා කියලා ඊටේ කල්යාණක් තියෙනවද? ඒ තාම අපි සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යනවා. ඒක හිතන්නේ තව දවස් 10ක් 4ක් යනකොට ඒක අවසන් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
No matter what the ministers say, the Committee of Ministry Secretaries have signed a framework agreement with China Merchant Port Holdings Company Limited. It is reported that this agreement was signed following cabinet approval. The agreement notes that the Chinese company will own 80% of the port, while Sri Lanka Ports Authority will own 20% of it. An assurance has also been provided that all institutions, including the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, will act in accordance to this framework agreement. However, the government says that a final agreement has not been inked and that it will be postponed. There needs to be approval from Parliament and not only the President. It must be sent to the Attorney General's Department. Cabinet must approve it. Frameworks and memorandums can be reached, but the agreement needs to be legal.
නීත්‍යානුකූල වෙන්න ඕන කිව්සු. ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ
යම් කරුණු ආර්ථික කොමිටියනොත් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න ඇති.
Certain matters were discussed by the Economic Committee, but the President has made it clear that it must be presented to Parliament.
එන්තුට පැමිණිය යුතුයි කියලා.
මොකද්ද මේ විකාරය? මොකද්ද මේ කරන බොරුව? මොකද්ද මේ වංචාව?
What is this corruption and lie? The government cannot determine the objections raised by the people. If you try to postpone the signing, we will rally the people of the country together. This must not be the race to be the liar of the century. Fulfill the promises made to the people.
ජනතාවට වෙච්ච පොරොන්දු ඉටු කරන්න කටයුතු කරන්න ඕනේ. හම්බන්තොට වරාය ශ්‍රී ලංකා වරාය අධිකාරියේ වරාය බවට
Convert the Hambantota port as one that comes under the purview of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. Do not hand over the eastern jetty to the Indian company. It must be converted to one that operates under the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. We will support that process. We will support after the people are fully aware of what is happening. If this agreement is signed, the Port Authority will fire the first cannon to send Ranil Wickremesinghe and the government home.
Journalists today questioned the State Minister of Finance over the statement made by Minister Ravi Karnanaike regarding the Governor of the Central Bank.
Yesterday, Minister Ravi Karnanaike made an allegation against the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Can he speak as the mirror of the economy? Today, the economy is hospitalized. Allegations have been levelled. The Governor faces such allegations before as well. But there appears to be a rise in the barrage of allegations. The reason could be the release of the court report on the bond scam. We know who are accountable. The Governor of the Central Bank is well aware of this. Why can't he release that report in the coming days? The Governor of the Central Bank will work in a direct manner. Therefore, no one can criticize his history or his operations. He is an honest person. You said many decisions will be reached. Was the bond scam discussed? We discussed our stance back then. At the media briefing on the 23rd, I told that this needs to be taken up in January. Everything I said will be done. There is no change in our stance. Let us see what happens. Has it been directed to the Attorney General? Is it not legal? It was done by a minister. Do not put us in a tough spot. The minister has the powers to send it to the subject minister. The subject minister has sent it.
From today, flights to and from the Bandaranaike International Airport will be stopped for 8 hours to facilitate renovations to the airport's only runway.
Renovation work on the airport's runway commenced this morning under the auspices of the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Nimal Siripala de Silva, amidst a multi-religious ceremony.
From the day I assumed office until today, most of my time has been spent fighting with the JICA and the Japan Airport Authority. This is because the delay was no fault of ours. We have done everything necessary to obtain the necessary funds. Some international organizations are very excited to give the loan, but after signing documents, their work is very slow.
The estimated time frame for the project is 90 days. The total cost for the project, which is being carried out by a Chinese company, is $48 million. While flights to and from the Bandaranaike International Airport will be halted daily from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., the airport authority as well as airlines say that those flights will take place during the nights.
Usually, check-in and immigration counters for a flight are open 3 hours before departure. However, during this time period, the counters will be open 5 hours prior to departure. Therefore, we request all passengers to arrive 5 hours prior to departure and complete all necessary procedures. Come to the airport early and avoid last-minute delays. Since most flights would take place in the night during this period, boarding of passengers to airplanes will be stopped 90 minutes prior to departure. Therefore, all counters will be closed 90 minutes prior to departure. Nearly 20 flights that arrive on a daily basis to Katnayaka have been cancelled. Normally there are 180 to 190 operations that take place daily. Preparations have been made to ensure that all other operations will continue smoothly without any hindrances. There may be small social and economic issues that may arise through this, but this project is a national need that must be done.
The 80 rupee tax that was imposed on imported rice will be reduced to 15 rupees with effect from midnight today. The Ministry of Finance announced this decision at a meeting held today. At present, customs duty, VAT as well as NBT were imposed on a kilogram of rice, resulted in a 80 rupee tax. With the new decision reached, all existing taxes will be removed and a special commodity levy of 15 rupees will be imposed on imported rice with effect from midnight today. The Ministry of Finance says that any businessman in the private sector has the opportunity to import rice. The ministry notes that now imported rice could be sold to the consumer for less than 76 rupees a kilogram.
Several protests took place across the island today.
A group of workers of Sri Lanka Telecom PLC who took to the streets against the management of the company marched towards the President's Secretariat. Police blocked Lotus roundabout and prevented protesters from reaching the Secretariat. With police intervention, few protesters were allowed to meet officials of the President's Secretariat. Officials promised protesters that their grievances would be officially forwarded to the President. Meanwhile, the group of manpower employees who served as meter readers attached to the Ceylon Electricity Board continued their hunger strike opposite the CEB for the fourth consecutive day, requesting that they be granted permanent employment. We will not budge from here until the 184 workers whose services were unfairly terminated are reinstated into the permanent cadre. It doesn't matter the number of weeks or months it takes. We won't move from this place until a clear decision is made.
A UNP office for the Kalani electorate was declared open under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Minister Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, who is also the UNP organizer for the electorate, was also in attendance. As in other political parties, the United National Party too had persons with different opinions. That is something natural in political parties. However, in the future we will not consider any particular persons as special and treat all UMPers equally and rally them all as one group to develop the UMP in this area.
Ceylon Local News former senior DIG Anura Senanayaka and the former crimes OIC of the Narahempita Police Sumit Pereira have been further remanded until the 19th of this month. They were further remanded when the case pertaining to the murder of raga player Wasim Tajuddin was taken up for examination before Colombo Additional Magistrate Jairam Troxy.
The Deputy Solicitor General Dilan Ratnayaka, representing the Attorney General, pointed out that information has come to light regarding another individual who had been travelling in the rear seat of Tajuddin's vehicle on the day of his murder. The Deputy Solicitor General informed the court that statements will be recorded from the first suspect of the case, Sumit Pereira, in this regard, and further investigations will be conducted thereafter.
The annual general meeting of the Salon Chamber of Commerce was held in Colombo yesterday.
We too have huge problems in dealing with other line agencies. The problem is not there at the BOI. I'm not saying this because I'm the chairman of the BOI. The staff is very much practical and forward-looking and would think out of the box. But the problem is faced from time to time with various other line agencies, for which we have now found a solution with a one-stop shop with high officials going through this committee. We summon these people from different departments and other institutes and push them and get it off the ground. This is a necessity if we mean business and if we are serious, which we are. And if there are still issues that cannot be resolved by this committee, then the very next week we will put it up to a committee, a cabinet committee headed by the Prime Minister himself. Every week that committee is meeting, which is called the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management, and prompt decisions are taken, and that decision the following week is sent to the Cabinet for the concurrence of the Cabinet.
A number of issues have cropped up with regard to investments into the largest tyre manufacturing plant in the country, for which the foundation stone was laid yesterday.
The Prime Minister laid the foundation for a new tyre manufacturing company, which is termed the biggest in the country. The ownership of this company is held by businessman Nandan Lokuvithana. There were a number of complaints that were lodged against Nandan Lokuvithana, stating that he was connected to various malpractices during the time of Mahinda Rajapaksa's government. His name was mentioned in the Dubai Marriott case, and a number of anti-corruption organizations had lodged complaints against him with several legal organizations. The name of Nandan Lokuvithana was listed in the controversial Panama Papers as well.
Lokvitanu, who opened this factory, has many allegations levelled against him. During the Mahinda Rajapaksa administration, $18 billion of defrauded money was funneled through him in order to purchase the Marriott Hotel in Dubai. In addition, there are allegations that the Rajapaksa family used his name to buy up stocks of state enterprises. Those days, these allegations were levelled by members of the current administration. This infamous businessman is also in the Panama Papers. The Prime Minister selecting an individual with allegations of money laundering on an international level, with multiple complaints against him in legal institutions, as one of the leading businessmen in Sri Lanka to drive economic development, raises alarms. There is a political motive behind this.
Meanwhile, the American Department of Commerce has imposed a special tax on certain types of tires that are manufactured in Sri Lanka. The decision has been taken after considering 2 complaints lodged by 2 American companies with the Commerce Department. Thereby, an export tax of 2.2% will be applied on OTR tires manufactured in Sri Lanka.
On to a story that we have been monitoring very closely. Volkswagen AG has confirmed to Times Online that it has not licensed any Sri Lankan company to assemble cars locally. Catherine Homan of Volkswagen Passenger Cars Corporate Communications had stated that there are no decisions for Volkswagen brand investments in Sri Lanka and therefore no agreements with local companies for a production facility. Times Online also reported that the German embassy is saying there is no involvement of German carmaker Volkswagen AG in the project to set up an assembly plant at Kuliapitia. Saying on the subject, the Motor Vehicle Importers Association says that the vehicle assembly plant being constructed in Kuliapitia could be another project that would result in a loss of revenue for the country. They charge that assembling vehicles and releasing it to the Sri Lankan market will not generate an income to the country.
Volkswagen confirmed to Newsfirst yesterday that it does not have any investments in Sri Lanka under its brand.
රැකියා බිහි වෙන මේ ප්‍රදේශවල දැන් රැකියා බිහි කිරීමේ කර්මාන්තකරණය අපි ආරම්භ කරද්දී
when we are starting companies that provide job opportunities, there are attempts to hinder that as well. We saw one such attempt with regard to Hambantota. There are attempts to sabotage this. These are good mechanisms to provide jobs for the youth. I saw Newsfirst saying that there is no investment by Volkswagen and that it is a company called Western Automobiles Assembly. You do not have to go there. If they asked me, I would have told them that there was no such investment. In 2015, we told that we should bring an investment from Volkswagen. During the end of 2015 and the beginning of 2016, when Volkswagen was in turmoil and when it was being investigated, the government said we should reject the investment.
Today, we raised 2 more questions from Volkswagen. Were there discussions prior to September 2015 on a possible VW venture in Sri Lanka? Was there an official communication from the Sri Lankan government which denied VW of the opportunity to invest in Sri Lanka? Responding to our email, Catherine Hoffman of Volkswagen Passenger Cars Corporate Communications reiterated that, quote, there are no decisions for Volkswagen brand investments in Sri Lanka, unquote.
This plot of land came under the purview of the Public Trustee Department. There is a plot of land on the other side of about 50 acres allocated to begin the Volkswagen plant. We hope to lay the foundation stone for it in December. There is a slight delay. We saw certain things being circulated on Facebook. Even though there is a delay, we will lay the foundation for it in December. The land has been acquired. Everything is done. There are a few matters that need to be carried out. We will lay the foundation stone in December.
We will
be able to bring in Volkswagen in the future. Until that time, we have taken steps to commence a factory that can manufacture vehicles in the country together with several European manufacturing companies. We have done this under the basis that we will be able to provide 20,000 job opportunities.
According to the agreement reached with Sinok Automobiles and the BOI, vehicles will be manufactured and released to the Sri Lankan market for a period of 3 years. As per the agreement, 500 cars will be manufactured during the first year, 750 during the second, and 1,000 vehicles during the third year. During the fourth year, they will receive the approval to manufacture 1,500 cars, and 75% of it will be exported. Even though it is stated that a number of job opportunities will be created by these projects, the agreement between the BOI and Sinok Automobiles does not detail any commitment to provide jobs.
It has been confirmed that the car assembly plant in Kuliapitia is not a Volkswagen plant. However, initially the government said that it was a Volkswagen plant. As vehicle importers, what is your opinion?
What we need in Sri Lanka now is not an assembly plant, made manufacturing plants. We need reputed companies to come in and set up manufacturing plants for the export market. What happens when you assemble parts in Sri Lanka and put into the local market? The country loses tax revenue. There is a clear difference when we pay the taxes and sell the vehicles.
You said that such companies had operated in the past. During that time, how did these operations take place?
As the chairman of the Vehicle Importers Association, I have personal experience regarding this. We were given permission for the second assembly plant in Sri Lanka. As it was not a moral operation, we did not continue with that. We stopped it because it was in violation of our morals. An outdated system is being followed when adding the 30%. It includes profit, technician wages and other expenses. Despite that, local resources are not being used. If you inspect those vehicles, you will not find a single part that was manufactured locally.
According to the agreement reached, they have been given the green light to release 500 vehicles to the local market per year for 3 years. What will happen in the local vehicle market if
Our issue is not with the factories. We speak after experiencing what happened in the past with such moves. If local agents start to assemble the vehicles using the company names, it will be an issue. This is not production. This is an assembly plant. That is not what the country needs. The discussion regarding the Volkswagen company is very clear. The Prime Minister has lied to the whole country and the whole world. He has deceived the people of the country. It is clear through the statement made by Volkswagen that there is no such investment in the country. He should apologize to the nation for the corruption that he was engaged in. If not, he should go home. They said they will provide 3,500 jobs. Where will they provide it from? Where are they constructing this Volkswagen company? If the company itself is saying no, and if the ambassador is refusing it, why is the Prime Minister lying and deceiving the people? When they have the power, they do not have the brains. When they lack the power, they have the brains. When the people give them the power, they dance around like dogs. If there is no Volkswagen company in the country, whose money was spent on the events and the meetings that were held? Was it the money of the ministers and parliamentarians, or was it their parents' money?
The government said they will be introducing a car company. Then shortly after, an SMS alert was sent by the Department of Information saying that a Volkswagen assembly plant was set up. Thereafter, another alert was sent saying that it is not Volkswagen, but that it is Western Automobile. The government themselves are changing this. The Prime Minister, Akhil Viraj Karewasam, and even Minister John Amaratunga mentioned this during the budget debate. These are responsible ministers. The President and the Prime Minister went and declared this open. They thought they were opening a Volkswagen company here. But what did the company say? They said they were not investing in Sri Lanka and that they have no agreements with any company in Sri Lanka.
State Minister Sujeeva Senasinghe called on the Mahanayaka of the Malbatu chapter, the Siam sect, today. Views regarding Volkswagen were exchanged at this meeting.
gloves factory කැරියා. ඒ වගේම අපි අද රෙදි පිලි අපි එකක් කැරියා මේ Volkswagen එකක් කරනවා කියලා ඒක නෑ කියන්නේ. නෑ මේමයි දැන් ඒකේ Volkswagen එක අපි හම්දුරනේ ජර්මන් එම්බසි ගෙනාවේ.
Volkswagen was introduced to the country by the German embassy. Volkswagen was facing a legal issue with regard to emissions from their cars. The issue was from Europe. We won't have any effect for decades, but it is not the same in Europe. Volkswagen was compelled to pay a compensation of $800 billion in Europe. They said that they have a financial issue even before coming here. Then we decided to bring together several other European car makers and establish an assembly plant in the country.
Now that's a wrap for Primetime News. Remember, you can stay ahead with News First by logging on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
I'm Satran Hapuarachi. Take care and good night.